Alright, welcome back to the Whirlwind Project. This is Whirlwind Part 2. What I have done so far is decided to move the machine from here to over there, just because it's brighter and I have more space. And I don't exactly need to be keeping my games room in league or tournament ready condition at the moment, because we haven't got that far yet. So I can utilize this space for the next few weeks or whatever it takes. So what I've decided to do is stick on the head, connect it all, and kind of check the electronics and see what we got. So first thing I did was removed these four corner brackets that were holding down the topper bracket, no, topper shroud, no, topper housing, sure, one of those things. So as you can see, it's a little yellowed. I wonder if I can get new decals for that. I think I can. And it's definitely a little dusty. So I'll be cleaning that and possibly trying to, get rid of the yellow. But look, all four corners are chipped, but all in all, it's pretty solid. There's a tiny crack I think I saw right here, but that's not a big deal. So chipped corners and yellowing and dirty. Just some cleaning alone might be able to bring it back to some degree of white, maybe. Man, that is quite the difference though, huh? Yike. And check this out. Do you think this fan's ever been cleaned in the history of this machine? I don't think so. Look at the difference where it was compared to... Ew. Look at that. Oh, there's some serious amount of grossness. So I'm gonna clean up the fan, some compressed air. Maybe I'll remove this blade here and give that a nice wash. Clean up the head. But yeah, so that is where I'm starting. I'm gonna, now that I've got the topper off, get a little extra height, maybe an inch. This is actually fairly close to the top of the housing there, so it doesn't save me a whole lot of height. But I wanted to get in there and clean all that anyway, so, and just kind of check it out for fun. So the goal is now to put the head on. Hopefully I still have all the hardware in the coin box, and figure out the 1,000 connectors that are apparently all labeled, so that should make things a little easier. But yeah, I remember I'm gonna need these. Not sure what that is. These guys, all this, I don't need that. Hinge hardware, gonna need that. And somebody was making quarters on this machine at some point, and look, 2 spare bulbs. They're number 44s. What do you know? 6.3 volt. Some high-end 6.3 volt 44s. Some hardware that I will probably end up throwing all in the garbage. Mitch would throw into his tumbler and polish them for 2 days, and they would come out beautifully. But I don't know if I'm gonna go through that. I'm gonna probably need that for one of these. Yep, look at that. Need that for that guy. Okay, so I am going to work on that and report back once I get the head on. Alright, so Jay the neighbor came by looking to borrow my stud finder, and I said, "You're looking right at him, brother." Wait, does that even make any sense? Anyway, he came down, I gave him the stud finder, and wait a minute, I'm rewinding in my head. That did not go on the right tangent, I don't think. Okay, let's pretend that I never tried to make a funny. That's some shenanigans for you. Okay, anyway, Jay came down and helped me put the head on. I kind of already had the head on the body lying flat, and then I was going to attach the hinges, then raise it into position, but we kind of were looking at it and figured it would be much easier to put the head on vertical position, add some wing nut head bolts, which I found in my stash, okay? And then after that was said and done, much easier to install the hinges. So, you know, just swung the hinge up like so. Hey, let's have some light. Okay, swung it up, held it in place, put the plate in place. I flipped it 180 degrees because it's a little crustier on the other side. So it's a nicer finish on this side. Stuck in the 3 bolts. And then I was like, oh, that's where this ground strap must go. And the 3 nuts and 3 bolts, and tightened her up. Since you can't exactly get a nut driver in there too easily, I just used a wrench and they're all good to go. Now this ground strap, I'm assuming, probably goes here, but this screw is bent a little bit, as you can see, so I might try and bend it back into place without screwing up the threads and breaking it off. I'm not sure how well that'll go, but I'm guessing that goes there. Where else could it possibly go? It's a smaller eyelet, so it did not fit here. It just won't fit there. So there's really nothing else that makes sense unless it goes on a screw back here or something, but it's all grounded to the same stuff. You know, this ground strap connects the speaker panel to the cabinet, then goes through the whole metal plate, this metal receiver bar. So how is the board grounded? Oh, through the connectors. So yeah, this is the only way that this speaker and this metal would be grounded, is if it is connected somewhere. There is good, so I think that's fine. And then did the other side, same thing. Basically, I guess you're just, oh, this is just so that if someone touches the outside of the hinge in the arcade, they're not getting electrocuted. That's why it goes from this bracket to this bracket. Okay, that makes sense. And I was actually missing one of these style nuts. This was on there, but I happened to have one, so that was pretty fortuitous. So that's all back to original. This nut, oopsie, I can just throw in my bin or whatever. But now that I've got the head on, the hinges on, I am going to connect everything, and then we're going to turn it on and see what happens. That is exciting and always one of the fun parts. Wires, and like forearm redness. I don't know if you can really see that, but trying to fish all of this stuff out of this. Oh, thanks, Williams. 2-inch gap. That was fun. Found another ground strap. That's gonna go on to the wing nut as well. I haven't fixed that yet. So I kind of used this as sort of a fishing hook, and then I stuck in a light in the cabinet and shone it back to the back. Which also reminds me, I should have cleaned the cabinet with the head off. I guess that wouldn't have made much difference. Just this playfield doesn't slide out really, it just hinges up, so it's hard to get in the back. But so with the use of the flashlight and my fishing rod, and my thin forearms, I was able to fish all this crap up. And here are the labels, J10. So I should be able to figure that out. There's some that aren't so legible. What is that? Not really sure what that is. Maybe it's a symbol. Oh, it's a 7 with a line on the top. There you go. So, do you want to watch me struggle to assemble all this in time lapse? Sure, why not? That'll be fun. Okay, that was, it wasn't too bad. There's a couple things. I still have to attach the ground strap. This connector is labeled J21, and it could fit perfectly on this connector here, which is actually labeled J16. It would fit there perfectly though. So don't know if I'm just missing something there. And then there's this just rogue wire here. Not sure what's going on with that. So I'll have to trace that down. So, and the other thing is this is just a tangled mess, and I'm not really happy with it because everything's kind of entangled with each other. I would have liked to have had it a little more organized, and I'm going to disconnect a couple things and reconnect to make it a little more organized because I don't like the way that it's all friggin' rat's nested together. But yeah, so that's what I'm gonna do. Holy, look at this ribbon cables, just bent and torqued and crammed. That's not good for ribbon cables. And I guess I can reattach this guy now too for the DMD. I mean, display. It's not DMD. Okay, so a few little things to sort out. I'm going to do that now, and then so I can tidy that up. And then probably the next step will be to check all the fuses, make sure they're the proper values and that none of them are blown. So give me a few minutes. I'll be right back. Okay, so I checked the schematics, and this connector here that I wasn't able to really locate, it was just mislabeled. I mean, it made sense. There's on a very short leash, and this is the only connector around that makes sense. And I checked J16. I think this was called the, what's this board called again? The auxiliary cat back box. I forgot the name of the board now. Anyway, sure enough, it is gray and black wiring, so this has to go there. And I was able to straighten out this bolt here, and then I connected the ground strap from the cabinet to make all the head and speaker panel all happy. So that is now good to go. The only last thing is trying to figure out what this is. It's very possible it might not be used, but not really sure. That's why I got it marked off here, so it's easy to find and I don't forget about it. Speakers appear to be connected okay. The little mini tweeter, that seems fine. Okay, there's all the labels. If I do end up sending the boards out, one or all of them, oh, looks like I missed one, then I will end up having to relabel everything. So maybe I should have just kept all that on there. But I only thought of that halfway through. And what I'll do is if I do have to send out a board or all of them or whatever, I like to just write on the edge there with a Sharpie, J4 or whatever. It's cleaner, and yeah, that's sort of just the method I use anyway, so I would do that. Oh, and I kind of tidied up the wire, like the knocker wire, fed that through. I unconnected and reconnected and fed and kind of tidied everything up a little bit better than it was. It's a little more situated and sorted. May not look like it. Looks like a giant friggin' mess of wires, really, but it's technically a smidge more organized than it was, so I'm happy with that. Looks like I should feed this wire down there too as well, actually. I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to check all the fuses, and then we're going to try and turn this thing on and see what happens. Alright, I pulled up a seat, made it nice and comfy. I've had a hell of a time finding the friggin' fuse chart in this manual, and I never did find it, so I just found this information on the interwebs. And it's like for the power supply board F1, it could be 3 different fuses depending on which machine it is. F2 could be 2 different fuses. So I never really did finish the power supply board. I have not checked these fuses yet, but I was able to, I struggled forever to try and find all this fuse information. Like, scan the manual a couple times online. I just searched high and low. And then I didn't search left or right, because on the right side, boom, that's the information for the auxiliary power supply. Then, upon closer investigation, I noticed that the fuse values are printed on this board. So this board's good. Fuse values printed there. That fuse is good. These fuses are all good. I did have to replace about 3 of them that were incorrect. A couple 5 amperes in there where there should be 2.5 amps, so nothing crazy, but that definitely needed to be remedied. So I just have to figure out for sure what these guys are supposed to be. And once I do that, oh, and I guess I could check that board, but I mean, if that fuse doesn't, if the fan ain't working, then that means that fuse is blown at a minimum. So not too concerned about that, but I will check that. So we're not going to get to see it get powered on tonight because I'm wrapping her up. What did I accomplish in this video? Connecting some wires and checking some fuses? Not a whole lot. It was kind of slow and tedious. Especially because I couldn't find the darn information forever. But we're getting there. Tomorrow will be turn on day, and we'll see how that goes. So stay tuned for that action.